You're out walking one day. You glance up at the sky. You see silver wings on the horizon, reminders of a long-forgotten past. But we still remember our heritage, and the time is ripe to acknowledge our roots. Our brothers from the other worlds are ready to embrace us. Oh, that would be a joyous re-entry into entirety. Would be a great chance for us. It's our own decision. It's up to us. A circular, shiny object passes in flight. You think to yourself, so the stories are true. What should we do?
I'm absolutely convinced that there is a mutual origin of humankind, of human beings, and some of the extraterrestrials which come and visit Earth. I have various reasons to maintain this point of view. There is a group of extraterrestrials which are really identical with human beings in their size, in their physical look, and their physical makeup. If we take the reports of witnesses seriously, and I do. There are quite a number of cases where these extraterrestrial visitors have made remarks confirming this point of view. They do not officially land in Washington or in Moscow or in London, but they're simply seen rather unobtrusively in such a way that the media is arguing constantly whether UFOs exist or do not exist. We know that they do exist, at least a small nucleus. And whatever their intentions are, I'm sure there's a development in the last few years that it will not be long until we find out.
Are the spaceships announcing their presence by leaving their footprints in the cornfields? If so, how? The cornfields of England, home of the amazing phenomenon known as pictograms. In 1990, 1,200 complex symbols appeared in southern England. Some showed a remarkable resemblance to carvings found on ancient monuments. One opinion is that they are a message from spacecraft. Another is that it is energy coming from the ground, reacting with energy from space. All agree it is intelligently created and possibly connected to the nearby stone megaliths. The pyramids, one of the 8 wonders of the world, are monuments to a forgotten civilization. But how did they achieve such feats of engineering? And why are there identical structures on Mars? It is said that the pyramids were built by another civilization for the purpose of containing energy devices to exchange cosmic energy. The pyramids acted as a focusing device to focus energy on the planet at the zenith, which is in exact alignment with the Pleiades. Some people have had contact with beings from the Pleiades who told them that they were here to help us. When asked, "Why do you help us?" they said,
"We would like to tell you about the importance of cosmic law, to live by it, not to neglect it. The greatest gift to yourself is to understand yourself through cosmic law. In our world, we give our children this understanding so that they will have a richer life. We come from throughout the whole universe, and we will reveal ourselves to you more and more until you come to understand the universal language."
My first encounter, I was determined, if it took me the rest of my life, I was going to find out that day what I had seen that day, and I have never let up from that moment in time. And it has been worth every minute and all the money I've spent on it, because now I am a far wiser person than I was when I started. I know things now which I would have never known had I not got involved in this thing. That there is a far higher force out there operating than we could ever conceive. And that they're here amongst us. They come and go as they wish. They are watching us, guiding us, and directing the direction we go in. Of that there is no doubt.
We live in the fourth dimension all the time.
Elizabeth Clara is one of the most important alien contact cases of all time. She was born in South Africa in 1910 and is a woman of great wisdom. Between the years 1954 and 1963, she had many meetings with another race. One man, whom she called Akon, told her that he was from the solar system of Proxima Centauri. She developed a deep friendship with Akon. He took her on a 4-month visit to his home planet of Meton, 4.3 light years from Earth. Meton is a world with 2 suns. She was told that space was a big laboratory and was given great knowledge about the universe. She understood the structure of the cosmos and the laws of light frequencies immediately, and as requested, she passed her knowledge to science, where it was of great benefit. She later went on lecture tours and wrote a book where she shares her insight into the structure of the universe and passed on highly valuable scientific information to the world. She said, "The road to the stars unfolds within a spaceship of great beauty and simplicity, generating her light from the cosmic plasma of eternity, never faltering, always alive and pulsating, shaped like a galaxy with a halo surrounding her and the shock wave glowing. All of creation is light, the key to the universe. The whole of existence throughout the planetary systems, the stars, the depths of interstellar space are all made up of visible and invisible waves of light. To the seen and unseen, to all energy, substance, liquids, gases, and all life, the release of the microatoms of light from oxygen is the source of all life. The electromagnetic waveform, or light. It forms the building blocks of the cosmos in which we have our being, as microatoms of light in greater unities are equal to atoms. Mind forces, spiritual strength, soul attainment, and thoughts are all made up of different speeds in the wavelength of light, or microatoms. Electricity is microatoms of light, while sound and color occur when the microatoms have different speeds. And when microatoms are stopped, they create heat. Light is an intelligent energy which can be thought into existence and substance. The pattern of microatoms of light changes with changing thoughts, when one achieves the formula for the harmonic vibration of light. The key to all life and the universe lies in harmonic interaction of light. A mathematical formula for all transportation lies in the vibratory frequencies of light harmonic, with anti-gravity waves and time waves, which are simply the frequency rate between each pulse of the spiral of light. By controlling this frequency rate, the flow of time can be varied, and one simply moves within one's environment, within the protection of the spaceship, instantaneously from one planet to another, or one solar system to another, where time, as a geometric, is controlled or eliminated.
Your civilization has yet to comprehend the complexities and interaction between regeneration and space exploration. The universe is in a perpetual state of evolving alteration. It's an evolving power of great magnitude and destructive capability, which has to be approached with great caution and responsibility. Entering certain quadrants, known as space gates, can only be achieved when conditions are favorable and with a suitable space vehicle.
As the universe evolves, many planets die as a result of natural forces or because of the stupidity of the race. Therefore, civilizations must explore to find new homes, or their species will expire. You must comprehend that to achieve this, space vehicles of many sizes must be available, from the smallest drone used for surveillance to mighty craft as large as your planet, capable of transporting a whole civilization.
Our move into space is a natural step which has opened the door for science to progress into areas not previously possible on Earth. And with this will come a new technology.
Space has achieved a return to Earth And I've always maintained that we need to fly into space, and we need to develop the capability and the horizon of flying into space in order to return to Earth with better capabilities and the know-how to solve our problems on Earth, the cardinal problems of the next century. And so when I talk about flying to the moon and flying to Mars, it should not be misunderstood as a flight, as people running away from a home they don't like anymore. It is really a return. It should be a return to Earth, and it should all happen in an integrated fashion, that we explore the planets while helping Earth, that we explore the planets in order to help Earth. By exploring Venus and Mars and Jupiter, we learn about Earth by comparison. And so by comparative planetology, we learn about ourselves and about our home. And we need to understand that planetary research, people landing on Mars and other planets, will not be done by somebody far away from us, but it'll be part of a connected, holistic program all the time. Earth will remain for us the center of it all and the purpose why we do this in the first place.
These are the footsteps of our spacecraft reaching out towards the heavens in the search for knowledge and extraterrestrial life. We are embarking on a dialogue for which a common language has yet to be created, and which, when in full swing, will pose questions we have never ever envisioned, not even in our wildest dreams.
There is life elsewhere, and therefore an extraterrestrial civilization to which we stretch out our hand evermore, whose attention we wish to attract, and with whom we wish to make contact. I am convinced that we shall be able to make contact on a broad basis. After all, there are already very many who have. And this contact between people is just as important as that with the universe.
The sea of eternal energy is the cycle of universal wholeness, and is the evolutionary combination of opposite attractions coming together. Forming a unified partnership, each and every force has an opposite force, which is the reflection of all action and cause. The thought of love and peace will reflect love and peace, whereas the thought of anger and pain will reflect these negative energies. The energies projected will travel the course of the cycle, eventually returning to the source, as with life itself.
The point of fact is that everything, when you get down to one particle of mass, everything's nonlinear, and everything generates phase conjugation or time reverse waves. It's called Newton's third law, by the way, the generation of the reaction force, equal and opposite. Now, if you really believe that there really is an equal and opposite force for every force that's generated, then its opposite is also generated. And so everywhere you look, for every process, there will exist an equal and opposite process. And as you look at the universe, indeed, that's what you find. The beauty about the Whittaker work is that now, by combining what we found out in pumped phase conjugate mirrors, and that is a way to amplify the phase conjugate wave, take the normal energy, turn it into the beautiful stuff that restores order instead of going into more and more disorder, we can put into this magic thing disorder, and we can get out perfect order. We can convert it into its own opposite. It's called a pumped phase conjugate mirror. By doing that and amplifying the time-reversed wave, amplifying the order, if you will, we open up a totally new physics. For example, the concept of energy is, in everybody's mind, the assumption that you take the energy, you bring it into something, you do work, which is scatter it, and that's called heat. And now if we have a process that can take that scattered energy, and it's a very passive type thing, and use it to cause itself to reorder, we can use the same energy over again. And it says now that is absolutely permissible, whereas before that's never been permissible before at all. And so what we've really done is we have a new model of physics. And we can do some things in this new physics that just can't be done before.
Rupert Sheldrake's explosive scientific breakthrough provides a new and radical solution to the mysteries of life. Sheldrake says that memory is inherent in nature, all natural systems, from minerals to man, inherit a collective memory of their kind. He says that formic causation is inherent memory which depends on morphic resonance, a process that involves action at a distance in both space and time. Far from being stored as material traces within our brains, our own memories result from our tuning in to ourselves in the past.
I'm a biologist, and my principal interest has been to understand the development of plants and animals, how they grow from eggs, how the embryos develop. This is a subject on which I did research for many years, and this led me into the broader question of memory in life. I came to think of biological inheritance as involving a kind of memory, as well as the genes that organisms inherit. There's a memory from past members of their species, a kind of collective memory. This depends on the process I call morphic resonance. And it means that if animals learn a new trick in one place, for example, then animals of the same species should be able to learn the same thing quicker everywhere else, just because the first animals have learned it. So this is the principle of morphic resonance, or memory in nature, and in its most general form, applying beyond the biological realm in the chemical and physical realms as well. It suggests that the so-called laws of nature, the regularities of nature, may be more like habits than like fixed, eternal laws.
Within the energy fields of all people are the molecules which record thought waves and patterns. These interact with the energy fields of the universe, where nothing is ever lost, but stored in a vast reservoir, and is called the collective memory. The collective combination of these thoughts, which emanate from every person on this planet, resonate throughout space, regardless of distance. Consequently, the thoughts of a person in one part of the world can affect a person in any other part of the world, or a person in the same room. This is why some people know instinctively how another person feels about them, without them ever having spoken.
Now, it can be shown that beyond this physical world there can be found only a realm of structures that cannot be described as material, but which can always change and restructure the material world, and especially the structures of human beings. When I regard these projections into physical space, I see very great similarities with the morphogenetic field postulated by Sheldrake.
The most important thing that can be given to us individually and collectively is to help heal the human scar, which is that somehow we're separate from everything that is powerful, everything that is beyond our individual grasp. In order for our species to evolve, we must be able to dissolve that illusion of separation. Sheldrake has given us a vocabulary which talks about our resonance, our innate resonance, beyond the differentiation of species, but rather incorporating cosmic consciousness. It's something that I talk a lot about in my work, for I have discovered that we not only have a physical DNA which offers the blueprint of our physical vehicle of consciousness, but we have an emotional DNA and a spiritual DNA which piggyback with us into this existence. Science is still struggling with that which is invisible. But as we begin to recognize what I call the essence, or what Sheldrake calls the resonance, we begin to be able to articulate something that can be perceived and utilized. Because if we understand our emotional DNA, we can begin to sculpt it so that we select with wisdom and grace only the blueprints that facilitate the evolution of our species. as we use these faculties of resonance, we can begin to acknowledge consciously that we are communing with other species and that we are influencing them, for we are influencing them. Whether they are civilizations beaming to us from outer space, or they are from within. There are even civilizations within the structure of the planet Earth itself. There's an infinite opportunity to practice resonance. And resonance really means becoming conscious of our vibration so that we attune and align with a vibration that we perceive enough to exchange. Whether that exchange is an exchange of DNA material or conscious material which is beyond what we can pull from our present microscopes, physical apparatus, which verifies life. Life is, after all, still beyond the particles that we have been able to see with our technology.
Dr. Sheldrake has brought about a whole breakthrough in science. In short, what he's saying is that there is a template behind the structuring, the configuration of the forms that we witness on the physical plane, and that template is dynamic instead of static. That is, that it does pick up the feedback from the way things get transformed at the physical level. So that, for example, if a laboratory in New York is seeding a crystal, and then another laboratory in Paris is seeding the same kind of crystal, the fact that the crystal is being seeded in New York is going to speed the process of the seeding in Paris, even though there's no communication between the scientists on both sides. Actually, it is a confirmation of the general theory, what is called the non-local acausal theories in physics. That is, that the world is an unbroken whole. What happens in one part of the world affects the other part without information being transmitted from one part to the other.
Our correlation with the universe is our influence on growth, and is also our strongest innate power to reveal everything there is.
The real potential of the human being, number one, is to comprehend reality. That's what we're here for. Number two is to comprehend that he is not just, as he's been called, an electrical computer in a flesh body or a flesh machine, muscle machine, that we're different from that we are literally divine. We do have spirits, we do have souls, and there is spiritual awareness and aliveness in the entire universe, and we're part of that. Literally, we are made in God's image. And to say that not in a dogmatic manner, not in a manner that I'm going to set up or a wish to somebody to set up a new religion or something, or a new cult or something like that. What we're talking about is we want a physics, we want a science that can deal with the human part, with the mind part, with the personality part, with the emotions part, and with the physical part. And the approach that I've advocated in all of my work, it has turned out that it is capable of doing that, and it is testable. In other words, that's the other necessity. Not only must you have a theory or an approach or a suggestion or a concept, but the thing has got to be testable. It's got to predict results that are not predictable any other way, and it's got to be able to be tested on the lab bench. And if it can't be done, it's useless.
The universe holds the necessary resources for us to structure our world to our needs. When man begins to tap into the secret of this most miraculous expression of infinite variety, he becomes the creator.
In quantum mechanics, which is the best physics we have a theoretical treatment, a model, if you will, where we model physical reality as occurring in little jumps called quanta. Little changes that are like little bricks of change that jump brick by brick. And big changes are just made up of lots of little brick changes very rapidly. And what we have in quantum mechanics is the fact that we have a certain kind of model called the Schrodinger equation, where all the things that a system might be, how it might be constructed or what kind of shape it might be in, are moving along, and suddenly the system collapses and one of these falls out. And they call that the collapse of the wave function, and this thing that was a probability now suddenly emerges as observable change. If you can go in and manipulate a hidden structure inside the Schrodinger potential that's moving forward, you can decide which one of those, or even change what's available to emerge into physical reality. In plain language, what we have said is this. With the Whittaker approach, the scalar electromagnetic approach, you can go inside physical reality before it's even born, before it turns into physical reality, while it's still in the probability state. And you can engineer the probabilities directly and determine whether or not it shall be born and what shape it shall take when it is born. In other words, for the first time in human history, we can absolutely engineer physical reality itself. Now that is so appalling. The quantum physicist is normally absolutely thunderstruck and cannot bear to look at the face of what it means to be able to deterministically engineer physical reality itself. It destroys the materialism idea for all time. This world is not built like a brick. It's an open system, and it's like a whirlpool in a river. It's stable, but if you change the river, you change the whirlpool. And for the first time, we can now engineer the virtual state, the river, that generates everything. And that's the significance of Sheldrake's work, of David Bohm's work, of the two Whittaker papers, and of my insistence that all of this be put together and put on the lab bench and tested. And I will tell you, it works on the lab bench.
Thomas Bearden says, in science of today, a new concept of reality is involved. However, severe demands are made on the individual to stretch his framework of comprehension. The perception concept is an abstraction that allows the modeling of perception itself, either mental perception or physical detection.
To contemplate that we ourselves could be multidimensional completely expands and explodes our limited recognition of the laws which govern time and space. Because dimensions are not separate from each other. They do not survive only on a continuum that extends out, but they are luminescent, pulsating frequencies of reality that interpenetrate each other. There is a lattice work of the universe, if you will, in which there are pivotal points which overlap in that lattice work, which allow us to penetrate the veil, to move through the windows of dimensions, to bring forth, to draw to us, back and forth, information that is pertinent to our evolution. We have lived before. We can access many bodies, both human bodies and other forms of bodies that can help us in this catapultic leap of consciousness so that we can utilize the universe as it exists for us. Multidimensionality simply means that you are a hologram you are a holographic being, and that your focus in any one dimension is just a point of reference on that circle, that holographic circle, which is not only on one plane, but on many planes simultaneously. As we identify ourselves as humans on one point of that hologram at this moment, if something were to trigger your multidimensionality, you would recognize that that point of reference on your hologram is available to open you to all the other points of reference that are interplaying with that point, so that you could see that you're much more than you think you are, that you can know what any human has ever known, ever will know. At the Light Institute, we travel along the fibers of the DNA which create our physical vehicle, so that we recognize how it is that generation after generation can and does, in fact, overlap with realities that are going on simultaneous to ourselves. We are of the stars. We can be of the stars and of the earth at the same time, and thereby enrich the experience we're having in these bodies by acknowledging and experiencing multidimensionality.
Jill Peirce is a well-known author and lecturer who specializes in the science of sound, which is now widely acknowledged throughout the Asiatic and alien worlds as being a key to the sixth dimension, which, among other things, is responsible for that which we call creativity and inspiration.
I think when we are inspired, for example, when we're inspired and we are in a creative mode, as an artist, as a composer, as a writer, we are tuning into the nature of the universe through a kind of resonance, and which means that we are able to translate the structure of the universe into some other modality. I don't use the word symbol because I think it's much more than a symbol. I think it's a kind of recognition of what it is. It's almost like a translation rather than a symbol. It's a translation of something from one form to another form through the agency of the tuning of that individual who's being creative into the nature of reality and how it is, and then translating it into another means, which is then, in a sense, made human and therefore available to all other humans because they recognize the humanity of it and at the same time the divine nature of it. So there is a complete transformation of the material world into the spiritual one. And this, I think, is something that only human beings can do. So we have one aspect of ourselves which reaches out into the heavens, into the multi-dimensional universes, and at the same time we have our feet very firmly on the ground. And so we're able to bring these translations about because we uniquely are both physical and non-physical. And in my work, I find that this whole translation process is done most effectively through sound, because sound, in a sense like humanity, is something on the one hand very material, in that if you analyze music and if you analyze sound, it comes about through counting. You know, if you go like this, you're interrupting the continuity of your experience. If you do it faster, you get rhythm. If you do it still faster, you get a note. If you do it still faster, you get the harmonics. So that the whole of music is counting, really. It's it's pure counting, which is about as materialistic as you can get, material. At the same time, if you play a Beethoven symphony or a Mozart symphony, and you're moved to tears, there's no way you can describe that to anybody, because it's the emotion that comes about through hearing music isn't something which is in any way material or describable, or you can't reach it through language or counting. So it's a completely magical experience. So it's a feeling that we get that we are part of something vast and something wonderful, because we recognize through the identity of these sounds, both to us and to this vast universe, that we recognize what we are. And we recognize not what we are as something little and reduced, but something vast and wonderful. And insofar that there are certain kinds of music which all respond to, it is these kinds of music which touch into these parts and provide this kind of recognition and a sense of joyfulness that we are part of this great, wonderful and joyful universe.
Music is the harmonic vibration of all substance and is the source of human emotion. The spheres are the souls of the substance of matter from where life begins. Man is united with the universe by the life force of all matter throughout the spheres.
Well, first of all, the spheres, in traditional understanding of the spheres through the Christian tradition and into the Renaissance, the spheres were supposed to be the spheres of being which separated humanity and the earth from God. And so when a soul was born, a little bit of God substance separated from God and passed down through all these spheres, through the realms of mind and potentates, and the realms of the angels and the archangels and the fixed stars and the planetary spheres, down through the elements and finally into the element of the earth. So the soul would pass down through these, and as the soul did so, it would pick up the astrological qualities, the particular configurations of its own nature according to the space-time moment of its birth. Now, at the same time, if what Plato tells us is true, it would also pick up its own musicality. It would pick up the musical quality of the spheres according to the space-time moment of its birth. And so it would be born a musical being. So it's actually the understanding that comes to us through understanding sound is that the universe is not only alive, but understandable.
On her many journeys into space, Elizabeth Clara learned that Archon's race lives in harmony of body and mind, which is the foundation of healthy existence and responsible for the elimination of disease. They know that most diseases are caused by emotional or psychological stress. Archon told her that all cosmic neighbors looked at our world with watchful eyes. They see that the natural world is dying through the imbalance which we are creating in nature, reducing the resources we live on, and they are out there waiting to help. When asked why they didn't come more often, they said, to come here, we have to make many kinds of adjustments to the body, because we are uncontaminated.
This spacecraft was seen coming out of the sea near the Canary Islands. UFOs have been repeatedly seen rising out of the water throughout the world. It is known that they are using their advanced systems to help the world to decontaminate areas of high pollution. For instance, green fireballs are appearing in areas of high radioactivity for the purpose of neutralization. Many contactees are told that help for the Earth by our alien friends is allowed, but only to a certain extent, because they cannot interfere, since we all have a free will. This is a cosmic law.
Life in our own planet is different to what you experience on Earth. We have long overcome the negative aspects of aggression, jealousy, and power. Although we are very advanced by your standards, we lead a simple life of love, mutual respect, and harmony, each integrating with each other in a like manner, conforming to the cosmic law of mutual harmony.
Our family unit is the integration of like souls, which is a form of higher love beyond your comprehension. Children are born of these family units to evolve into even higher levels of understanding. Partners are not tied to each other as with your earthly rules. The merging of auras of the twin souls is a bond of such love and understanding that rules are not necessary. We do not have rules as you understand them. Law is a code of conduct. We do not require a code of conduct as you perceive it. Age is of no consequence to us. We merely exist in this form for a term of many times your lifespan, and are then reborn to a higher level. Our harmony with our environmental surrounding is absolute.
Elizabeth Clara was brought to our planet by Alcon as a step towards bringing understanding to your race regarding the life and ways of cosmic neighbors. The mutual love which existed between them was a natural harmony of souls. Alcon could not have lived permanently on your Earth because of your contamination. Our recreation is very different from that on Earth. We do not have sports of violent physical contact, and do not participate in anything which creates rivalry. One great enjoyment is to use our brain power, either singly or jointly, against what you would call computers.